Hi, my name is Lara, and today we're going to move through a short Yin Yoga sequence. So Yin Yoga is more about longer holds in some poses. It's very low to the ground and is really gets deep into the connective tissue. So it's a really relaxing but also a deeply physical and emotional practice. So when you're ready, you can join me on your mat. If you want to have a blanket or a towel underneath you for extra support on your knees, that's a good idea. And if you have blocks, you're welcome to use your blocks as well, or anything like thick books or anything like that, just to give you a little extra support. So if you're ready, let's get started. So just to begin our practice, I'd like to take a few minutes just to find a little centering and connection to our breath. So you can place one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest, and gently close your eyes. Sitting up nice and tall, just begin to notice both your breathing in the belly and your heartbeat in your chest. So we won't be here for very long, just taking a few breaths, connecting with your body, and beginning to slow down for today's practice. So often in our busy lives, we're rushing from one thing to the next. And Yin Yoga offers an opportunity to move a little slower, to take some more time in these positions. So take one more breath here. And when you're ready, you can gently blink open your eyes. Bring your hands to your knees and just give your shoulders a little roll backwards, opening the chest, waking up the collarbones and the shoulders. And then maybe draw a slow circle with your nose, releasing the neck in one direction and then the other. Beautiful. Then placing your hands in front of you, begin to roll onto your knees onto all fours, bringing your two big toes together, your knees out as wide as your mat, and then sink your hips to your heels for a child's pose. This will be our first yin posture of the day, so we're going to hold it for about a minute. So as you're here, think about drawing your tailbone to the floor and resting your forehead on the floor or maybe on a block or a pillow. Letting yourself feel heavy and getting a nice stretch through the shoulders and the low back. Allow your face to relax as you maybe sink a little deeper into your child's pose. On your next inhale, slowly come back up to all fours, stacking the knees underneath the hips, the wrists underneath your shoulders. So from this strong tabletop position, option to bring that extra support underneath the knees. So using a blanket or a pillow. And then bringing your right foot forward to the outer edge of your mat. So making sure that both hands here are underneath the shoulders and are in the inside of that right foot. So we come to our lizard pose, spreading the fingers out wide and just letting that knee open up to the right. So it doesn't have to be drawing in, but letting it open to really get this nice opening through both hips. So from this position, this will be one of our longer holds. You don't want to start in your fullest expression of the pose. So Yin Yoga is all about finding your edge. So finding that place that you can hold and breathe comfortably. Because as time goes on, as we hold the postures, they will become more intense. So setting yourself up to move deeper as we stay here. So maybe being up on the hands or coming up onto any of your props to bring the floor a little closer to you. Or maybe in time, you come down onto your forearms, but not rushing into it right away. So find your version and come back to that deep, slow breath that we cultivated at the beginning of class. Letting your hips melt down to the floor. Noticing both the sensation in the physical body as well as any emotional resistance. So often we don't have time to stay in the same position for even 5 minutes. So notice if you're wanting to rush and move on to the next pose or to change shape, especially if you practice other forms of yoga that are more quick. And see if you can acknowledge that feeling, but allow yourself to still stay here. To breathe a little deeper. And to support yourself in going there. And on your next exhale, maybe if it feels right, you move down a little deeper, but only if it feels safe and comfortable in your body. Take one more cycle of breath. And then slowly begin to ease out of it, shifting your weight into that back leg a little bit. And then keeping your left hand on the floor or maybe on a block. And taking your right hand now to the inside of that right thigh, pressing the knee open, sending the hips a little bit lower. And twisting your torso over to the right. So getting a nice twist through the spine, as well as a continuation of this hip flexor stretch through the left hip flexor and the right inner hip. And staying lifted out of this bottom hand and gazing back over your right shoulder. We won't stay here quite as long. But if it feels good for you here, you can open that right arm out towards the back of your mat, continuing this twist. Take one more breath. And then slowly bring that hand back underneath your shoulder. Plant your palms and then draw this right knee back to meet your left in your tabletop position. So taking a moment here, maybe bringing your two big toes back together and sending your hips towards your heels, child's pose, reset. Inhale, slowly come back up to all fours and take that left foot to the outside edge of your mat. Bringing the hands underneath the shoulders and letting that knee fall out to the left. So supporting that back leg with that cushion, we find lizard on the other side. So this side might be very different than the first side, and that's okay. But maybe you learned something from the first side to maybe not go as deep as quick, or to that maybe you can go a little deeper. So accepting exactly where you are on this side, listening to your body, and finding a version of this pose that suits you, that's comfortable, and where you can breathe and maintain this position for a few minutes. Simultaneously lifting up and out of the crown of the head and sinking down through the hips. There's no need to rush. Notice if your mind is going to your to-do list, to anything that's happened in the past or left to happen today. And see if you can bring it back to here on your mat, to this deep stretch through the lower body. Back to the breath. As you continue to breathe deep, notice if there is any more space. Maybe in time, allowing yourself to find a deeper version. And if you're down on your forearms, maybe you take this opportunity to bring the fingers to the temples or the jaw, giving yourself a little massage. If you're not on the forearms, you can still use this time to soften through the muscles of the face, to maybe bring a soft smile to your lips in this place of discomfort. And then slowly, on an inhale, begin to rise, drawing that right hand back to the floor to a block, and taking the left hand to the inner left thigh, pressing that thigh open a little bit more, and twisting your torso towards the left. Pressing up and out of this bottom supporting hand, but never locking through the elbow. And take a few long, deep breaths here. Or maybe allowing that left arm to open back behind you, twisting through the body. Take 2 or 3 more rounds of breath, gazing back behind you. And slowly make your way back to tabletop, and then to a child's pose. inhale, come back up to all fours, swinging your shins to either side and making your way now onto your seat. So from here, extending your legs out long like a V, so it doesn't have to be super wide. And then sitting up nice and tall through the upper body and reaching the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, slowly bring your hands to your heart and then to the floor in front of you. So maybe pausing here, finding any place that feels good as a stretch through the legs, through the back. And this is a beautiful yin pose because you have plenty of room, plenty of a large spectrum that you can find any slight variation that works for you as you begin to deepen. And a way to make this even more restorative, you can even stack a bunch of pillows right here in front of your body and fold yourself over top of them. But wherever you are, breathe deep. You can use your breath to soften any places of discomfort in the body or in the mind. Slowly begin to walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Draw your legs together and take a moment just to notice any changes that have occurred in the body or the breath. Before gently making your way down onto your back. So as you come to your back, hug your knees into your chest, releasing that stretch through the hips and getting a nice release through the low back. Grounding your upper body into the floor. As you inhale, extend the knees forward so that your arms are completely straight. And as you exhale, bending at the elbows, draw the knees back to the chest. We'll stay here in full wing pose for a little bit. Allowing the weight of the legs to sink into the hips, releasing the low back. So although these postures may seem quite passive in comparison to other forms of yoga, I like to think of them more as receptive. You're allowing your body the time and space it needs to change, to really go deep, and to absorb all the benefits of this yoga practice beyond just the muscular stretching. As you go, if you'd like to widen your knees, drawing them towards your armpits, you're welcome to do so. Maybe dropping the elbows to the floor. Trying to keep contact with the low back and the floor. Take one more round of breath here. And slowly draw the legs together and extend them long in front of you. As you come to lie on your back, scoot your hips over to the right as you walk your feet over to the left corner of your mat, crossing the right ankle over the left, and then drawing your arms up overhead, clasping the right wrist with the left fingers, and reaching the hands toward the upper left corner of your mat or your block. And finding this nice opening through the whole right side body. But still allowing your body to be heavy on the floor, supported by the floor. Recognizing that on the other side of discomfort is change and growth. But also remembering that we never want to move to the point of pain in our practice. So listening to your body and finding your edge. Take 2 or 3 more deep cycles of breath. And then slowly begin to move back to center in one long line. Take a cycle of breath to reset. Before moving to the other side, so bringing your hips over to the left and walking the feet to the right, crossing the left ankle over the right, and then switching the clasp of your hands onto the left wrist and reaching the hands towards the upper right corner of your mat. Coming into this crescent moon shape, a C curve, opening up the whole left side body. And really using the breath as a tool here. The deeper you breathe, the more your ribs and the intercostal muscles expand, stretching through the torso. Notice the rise and fall of your belly with your breath. And see if there's any parts of your body that you can relax a little further. Taking time to be here with yourself. There's nowhere else you should be, nothing else you should be doing. Take another breath or two or three. Before you slowly release the hands, bring your whole body back to center. And then finding a comfortable position to take our final pose today, our Shavasana. So using any props you'd like, and just setting yourself up to find some relaxation. Closing your eyes and absorbing all the benefits of this class today. Thanking yourself for maybe trying something new, for slowing down and honoring your body. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. But if you're ready, you can begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And slowly, in your own time, make your way back to a comfortable seat. Thank you so much for practicing with me today in a Yin Yoga class. So it is. Namaste.